It's my pleasure to introduce Stefano DellaVigna, who is a professor of economics and business administration at the University of California in Berkeley. And we're particularly excited and honored to have Stefano give the Rodolfo De Benedetti lecture, not only because he's a world-renowned and incredible researcher, but also because he's one of us. Stefano's academic journey began here at Bocconi, where he got his laurea in economics in the late 1990s. He then went on to Harvard University for his PhD, and afterwards, for about the last 20 years, has been a professor at Berkeley. And Stefano has done and keeps doing amazing pioneering work at the intersection of behavioral economics and almost all other core fields of economics. The common theme across his extremely prolific and influential work is that he applies the scientific data-driven method in combination with a behavioral economics lens on human behavior to investigate important real-world problems. He's one of the first people from outside the field of labor economics who noticed and embraced the potential of using natural experiments to investigate core social science questions that had previously gone unanswered for many decades because we were lacking the methods to answer them. He's a huge pioneer of taking behavioral economics out of the lab and into what we call the field by relying on large existing databases in combination with the use of natural experiments. This extremely creative and powerful approach, it turns out, can be applied to study a huge range of human, social, and economic behaviors and phenomena. And that explains how Stefano could make extremely important contributions to many different fields of economics beyond behavioral economics, including political economy and the economics of the media, labor economics, the economics of crime, and also finance. In my field of political economy, for example, we had been mulling for decades over the question of how political opinions and vote choices come about, and specifically whether they're influenced by the media at all, or whether people are just consuming the news they like to hear, with these news having little bearing on their opinions. And in the absence of data and scientific experiments, it was really impossible to answer this question. And Stefano's work on the impact of cable TV channels on voting behavior made huge progress on this question by using a natural experiment that exploited that Fox News, which is a big cable TV channel in the US that has a decidedly conservative bent, became available in some towns and not others, allowing him to draw causal inferences of the impact of this TV channel on people's vote choices. This work has spurred and inspired a lot more research in this field and allowed us to make huge strides in understanding the origins of political opinion formation and political polarization. More recently, Stefano has increasingly turned his attention towards two topics that are not glamorous at all and that make a lot of academics shift uncomfortably in their sometimes maybe too comfortable seats. And that's both of which I think a telltale sign that he's onto something big. The first topic is that of research on research itself. In this strand of his work, Stefano investigates the robustness of the research we produce and ways to improve it. As part of this work, he's pioneering methods to predict and evaluate the reproducibility of research findings in economics and beyond. And this includes, for example, the social science prediction platform that Stefano has co-founded a few years ago, which has amazing potential in boosting the credibility and transparency of research, and that I really encourage you to check out online if you haven't done so. But I can imagine many of you have already used this platform for your own research. The second huge topic that Stefano has been working on recently is that of the how, whether, and when research findings find their way into policy. That's a topic that we really knew and know next to nothing or very, very little about, even though it's immensely important since it makes very little sense to do social science research if much of this research just stays in the ivory tower. So it's another area where Stefano does extremely important work that I'm sure will influence a lot of our work going forward. And I think that's also a bit the topic of, at least part of the topic of the talk that you're giving today, so I don't want to give any spoilers here. And with this, I'm very happy to leave the floor to Stefano DellaVigna for the 18th Rodolfo De Benedetti lecture.